most of the Clippers' core players are either injured or they're not there. And for the simple fact that they're not there or they're injured or trying to play through injuries and, are not injury free, it definitely puts the Clippers in a bad predicament in regards to trying to make the playoffs and trying to be a formidable team to better their chances of getting into the playoffs. Now, of course, the play-in tournament is something that has been created the last year or so it definitely gives the Clippers an opportunity to still get in, even if they're one of the lower seeds on the outside looking in, which they are right now. But at the same time, it's still going to be tough because the other teams on the lower part of the seeding is really good too. And they're really ascending or trying to ascend as well. You look at a team like the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, they were in the 10th or 11th seed at one point. Now they're in the 8th seed of the playoff picture. And, where they started at to where they are now, and with Anthony Edwards just getting better, Karl-Anthony Towns still playing at a pretty high level. And Patrick Beverley's starting to play really good for them as well, so they're definitely a team. If they do get into the playoffs, I believe they might be a tougher out than what people think. And, you look at a team like that and you look at a team like the Clippers, the Clippers on the outside looking in the 9th seed, but the Clippers don't have their two superstars, and they're just trying to do it by committee and get any offense they can from any of their young players who are rookies. You got Amir Coffey, you got Brandon Boston's out there, you got a lot of young guys out there. You're trying to get them to understand what it takes to win in this league while they're still trying to get their feet wet and understand what the NBA league is all about. It's very tough for the Clippers. They don't have the talent that a lot of these other teams have on the floor that's helping them play better while the Clippers are just trying to stay afloat. But one core player I think the Clippers need to kind of depend on, or should be able to depend on, depending on whether he's stays healthy or no COVID issues come up anytime soon, is Serge Ibaka. The other night or the other day against the Atlanta Hawks, Serge Ibaka went 7 for 8, had 16 points. He had 1 or 2 blocks. He started to look like the Serge Ibaka of old, at least offensively. And that's what they're going to need. And Serge Ibaka being able to step out and knock down big threes and, being able to show versatility on both ends of the floor, that's what they're really going to need right now. Because if you look at their center position, they're really, really depleted there. Zubac is health and safety, and so is Isaiah Hartenstein. He might have an injury as well. So really, Serge Ibaka is the only one left, really, that they can depend on. And, Serge has dealt with his share of injuries and everything as well, back injuries, things like that himself. So he's just really trying to get back to his form and get his rhythm back. And, other day against the Atlanta Hawks, it looked like he's, damn near there, at least on the offensive end. And that's what they're going to need, because, they had Amir Coffey the other day, scored 21 points, and Serge Ibaka scored 16. And, it's like they're going to have to just do it not only by committee, but they have to really, really be able to rely on a player like Serge Ibaka, because even though Marcus Morris is out there and things like that, but he has a way of being very inconsistent at times. So to me, the most consistent veteran they have on the floor might actually be Serge Ibaka if he's healthy enough to keep playing and barring no injuries or anything comes his way. You have to look at that in its entirety, and you have to take that, with the thought process that, he's going to be able to do that. And I feel like that's what Ty Lue is kind of hoping on as well, hoping that Serge can get his feet under him and get himself going, because if they can get, Kawhi and PG back, Serge definitely gives them a very, very more versatile weapon on the floor that they didn't have last year going into the playoffs or anything like that, because Serge wasn't available. And then, like I said, if they find a way to get Nicholas Batum right, I know he's going through some injuries, Achilles, ankle, stuff like that. Now that's 2 versatile weapons that you have on both ends of the floor, along with Kawhi and PG, who are very versatile on both ends of the floor. So, this is what the Clippers need to happen. They need to find a way to, pull out some really, really ugly wins. They need to get consistency out of Serge Ibaka, and the consistency they're able to get out of him going forward would definitely boost his confidence of being or thinking that he can at least play up to the level of how he was at least a couple years ago. And, if he's able to get into a rhythm with everybody else coming back at some point and they're able to just kind of string together some wins and maintain a little bit, the Clippers are right there. The Clippers are right there if they're healthy. And I've said all this season, if they're healthy, damn the Warriors, damn the Lakers, damn anybody in the West, because the Clippers have just as good a team, if not better, than any other team in the West. And no team in the West scares them, because when you think about it, listen to what I just said. The core players of the Clippers, their core players are Marcus Morris, and I know he could be inconsistent, but when he's on his game, he's really, really a valuable piece to a team, just like his brother is. And you look at Nicholas Batum, very versatile, can play position 1 through 5, can guard position 1 through 5, and so can Serge Ibaka. That's 2 versatile weapons right there. Then you arguably have the 2 best wing players in Kawhi and PG. That's very versatile, can guard both ends of the floor, can damn near guard position 1 through 5. It's really, really tough to beat them if they're all together, because they have a lot of versatility and they got a lot of depth, because their bench, when they're healthy, you got Terrence Mann, you got Luke Kennard, now you will have Eric Bledsoe. I don't know if he would be coming off the bench or not, but I'm pretty sure he would be. You would have him coming off the bench. They got Reggie Jackson, a guy who can go out there and get buckets as well. They got a high energy guy and Hardenstein. Zubac is still there, still developing, and those guys can definitely learn from Serge if Serge is playing at the high level or a higher level than what is expected of him, or should I say a high level like when he was on Toronto, in which that's the Serge Ibaka that they're hoping that they can get. And hopefully going forward, they can continue to or start to get that, because that's they're going to need to win some games. But when you look at the team all together, if they're all together, they're all healthy, there's no team in the West that should scare them, because they're definitely just as good as any team in the West, and they're definitely just as deep almost as any team in the West. Now, I will say I would have liked to seen them get a point guard, a very solidified point guard, because I feel like that would just definitely put them over the top with the pieces that they have, but even still, without that, they're still a championship contender type team without a point guard, because we just saw last year, if Kawhi doesn't go down and get hurt, they're in the NBA Finals. So they're definitely good enough to win a championship with or without the trading of a point guard, if they play their game the way they're supposed to, and not sleepwalk and take games seriously and don't take plays off, and understand that every game is magnified times 10 when you're trying to win a championship. If they keep that mentality, they're good. Sometimes I feel like the Clippers rely on the next man up mentality and the resiliency, mentality so much, they kind of forget about, well, we don't have to be resilient if we go out there and play our very best when we're healthy enough to do so, and not lose games that we're supposed to win, and play to the level of expectation we're supposed to. We wouldn't have to be resilient. We'd just be winning anyway. And that's sometimes, I think that notion kind of goes under the water sometime with the Clippers. But hey, they're here now. What's worked for them has worked for them so far, and that's good for them. But right now they need all the wins they can get. And like I said, if they're healthy, they're definitely not scared of any team in the West. But right now they have to be scared for their chances of making the playoffs, because they know they don't have much on the floor to offer in regards to talent or superstar talent. So it's definitely hurting them when they play really good teams or teams that have their players and the Clippers don't. So looking at a player like Serge Ibaka, as I said, that's the one core player they're going to have to be able to rely on going forward, hopefully with him being able to stay healthy and gradually get other players back to add to, what Serge Ibaka is going to be able to do, because him being able to stretch the floor, knock down threes, scoring the paint, he's a very underrated passer as well. Those type things go a long way. And if they can get the Serge Ibaka that Toronto Raptors had, I feel like they can win some games. I feel like they can, they can win a few games here and there, at least stay afloat in that 8th, 9th seed, stay in that hunt right there. If they can stay right there in that little section until they at least get Paul George back, hopefully he'll be reevaluated in a couple weeks where he can come back and, help this team, generate this team some energy on the offensive end and help them, give them a push going forward to get to the playoffs or at least get a certified playoff spot, or get in that, playoff section instead of being on the outside looking in. That's what the Clippers want until Kawhi Leonard returns. Because then, with everybody, with all them on the floor, well, they definitely not only going to be a playoff team, they're going to be a championship contender. So right now, the Clippers' only hope is, players like, Marcus Morris, Serge Ibaka, those core type players, those veteran players, and, Nicholas Batum. I know he's going through some injuries, but if they could just get those players to play, pretty consistent, in regards to directing the young guys while they're out there on the floor and helping them and seeing certain things on the floor that the young guys might not see because they don't have the experience, and kind of like mold them the way they need them to, they can pull out some wins. They can pull out some. So, like I said before, in the next 10 games, if they can at least go 4-6 or, 5-5, something like that, that's a win. That's a win-win for the Clippers, because with their depleted roster, I don't think nobody's even expecting them to do that much. So, and hopefully within that time, other players can start to come back and, get off health and safety protocols and put themselves in position to, win more and put themselves in position to, try to make a run. Because honestly, as I said before, the window's starting to close on the Clippers. So, they had 2 or 3, their third season together, and, they're trying to win a championship, but, the window is closing. Every year that you don't win it, the window is closing more and more, and injuries are a part of it. There's nothing we could do about that, but at the same time, it's the window is still closing, and it's still not opening up anymore. So this is the time for the Clippers to win it, and hopefully if everybody can come back healthy. Now you're hearing a strong possibility Kawhi can come back. Hopefully it's a strong possibility PG will come back sooner than later as well. And, hopefully Serge stays healthy, because I don't think they've played with Serge enough to really get the usage out of him, in regards to what he can help him do in the playoffs. Because I feel like Serge is one of those players where in the playoffs, he serves more valuable than he does in the regular season. And, with Kawhi and PG being there, if they can get healthy enough to come out there and play and put this team in position, I think sky's the limits for this team, especially if they can keep those other core players healthy, and their bench is definitely stacked, so hopefully everything can be put together. And I know Ty Lue wants to see this team excel, because he believes in all his guys and he trusts all his guys, and everybody on the team seems like they trust him in the process. So, you hope that everything gets back on track soon, because I definitely want to see this team have an opportunity to make it to a finals, because they were right there last year. No doubt about it, they were right there. So since they were right there and they got that close, then that means this year they definitely can get there. Now, of course, they got some speed bumps along the way, because some other teams are standing in their way that are really good as well. But I definitely think the Clippers can beat them if they're healthy. And I definitely don't think no team in the West scares them, because honestly, if the Clippers are fully healthy, they might be the best team in the West that gets unnoticed, because honestly, they match up well with the Warriors. And very much so, we saw they match up very well with the Phoenix Suns. So when you look at that in its entirety, those are the 2 best teams in the West, and they match up perfectly well with both of those teams, especially when they're healthy. So we'll have to see how it goes, but hopefully, like I said, Serge and the rest of the crew can keep it going, because need all the wins they can get, and they need to try to, stay afloat as much as they can. And hopefully their schedule isn't too brutal enough for them to, not at least go 4-6 out the next 10 games, then kind of at least stay afloat. But we'll see how it happens, and we'll see how it unfolds. You just hope the best for the Clippers and Clippers Nation. But hey, that's my take on the situation. You leave any comments in the comment section as always. And hey, Cali out.